The only thing we have to fear is beer itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name is Dan Baker, as always, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner,
and the fermenter-tainer,
Wayne Baker.
Today is a very special edition of Beer Busters, as we have a homebrewing couple with us, which is very good. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, we have
Peter Littlefield.
And
Veronica Littlefield.
Thank you so much for coming out, guys. We really do appreciate having you here. And I'm very excited to get to what you guys have brought for us. Now, while we are recording this episode, Steph, we are sipping on...
We are drinking a beer from Burley Oak Brewing Company out of Berlin, Maryland. This is their Samurai Rye Saison Ale. I chose it because I thought Wayne would appreciate the name.
I do like the name and the beer.
It is good. The recipe was inspired by a sushi restaurant in Ocean City, Maryland, and it is brewed with toasted rice, malted rye, and the yeast is allowed to free rise and complete fermentation at 85 degrees Fahrenheit. A bit high for a typical beer, but a Saison yeast usually likes a warmer fermenting temperature. We're going to notice some fruity notes, some pepper undertones, and a herbaceous
Herbaceous because there's an
herbaceous
H in it.
aroma. So enjoy.
Did you say from Berlin, Maryland?
Yeah, I didn't know there was
Yes.
a Berlin,
There's
Maryland.
a Berlin, Maryland. This
There
is
is
very
a
good.
Berlin, Maryland.
As I continue my phase on.
And thank you to Tom and Vicky for bringing this bottle back when they were down there.
Aha, yes, thank you. Okay, so... All right, so there's a couple stories that we have that were worthwhile to pass along. Now, the first one is something that is pretty good. I notice every time we come down to the Beer Busters podcast basement, we are staring directly at a Funky Buddha growler that Steph is so proudly displaying.
That I went to with our grandfather. So I have
That's
lots of
right.
great memories from there.
Did he like any of them?
Yes, their pina colada beer. I think I talked about on the show before.
Yes,
but
you did.
We went to several breweries that week when we were down there, and he still talks about that pina colada beer, that pineapple beer, Steffi. That's the one he talks about.
Very nice. They have a signature Anthony's Coal-Fired Pizza craft beer, which is going to be called the Forget About It Red Ale. Now, the article starts off, every great pie deserves a great beer to go along with it. And Anthony's Coal-Fired Pizza, the South Florida-based concept that uses authentic coal-burning ovens to create their well-done pizza. They teamed up with Fort Lauderdale-based Funky Buddha to create the Forget About It Red, which is going to clock in at a 5.4% ABV. It will debut exclusively at Anthony's 17 South Florida. It will have already debuted by the time this airs.
I think it released on Valentine's Day.
Very shortly.
about a month ago.
There was the 14th. I'm sorry. I thought it said the 17th at first. Now, it's dubbed an Italian-American ale. The Forget About It Red is crafted with a blend of European barley and English hops.
It is not made with pizza, right?
No, it's just paired with pizza.
Right.
Is it made with coal?
That would be interesting.
Yeah. Although Steph did get me a beer for Christmas called Lump of Coal, which was actually really good.
Oh, that's
so
I'm
thank you for
glad.
that.
I picked that up when I was in Vermont.
Yeah, it's good. I have the bottle. I washed it out. It's sitting on my computer desk.
Aw.
Ditto for me. It's all on my computer desk. Steph got me Santa's butt.
Oh, that's right.
Just to show you how much I love both of you so much.
Yes. Now, this beer is flavorful enough to balance the intense crunch of coal-fired crust, yet refined precisely to pair with delicate tomato sauce. The Forget About It Red Ale is the perfect complement to Anthony's well-done pizza and Italian soul food.
And that's the place they just opened one up in Why Missing, right?
Yes, and I
Yeah.
was there recently, and I actually ran into the Littlefields when we were there having dinner. And I spoke with
It's
Alex.
a small world.
Behind the bar. I believe he's one of the managers there. And I asked him about this beer. I said, I know it's going to be at the 17 South Florida locations. Could we ever see it up here? And I was expecting a big fat no, but he actually said perhaps. It looks like once Funky Buddha brews another batch of this, they're hoping to send some up our way. So
That'd be cool.
Funky Buddha and Why Missing, that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Now, this chain, the Anthony's Coal-Fired, they're based in Florida. Are they sort of all over the country, or are they just on the East Coast, or you don't know?
Most of their locations are in Florida. I believe, isn't Dan Marino a part of this chain?
Is he really?
Wasn't he there when they opened this
I smell
one?
a fact check.
You know, that-
I smell a fact
That actually
check.
sounds pretty familiar. I know he's involved with some restaurant, and this would kind of make sense if it's based out of Miami.
There's some in New York as well. Pennsylvania, New York, Florida.
You know, Dan Marino is the only quarterback that deserves a Super Bowl ring that doesn't have one. Sorry.
But I digress.
I grew up a Dolphins fan. I apologize.
I just assume he had one. That shows you how much I...
Yeah,
No.
sports.
But we do have to remember, laces out, Dan. Laces out.
I don't even understand that.
Yeah.
It's a Ace Ventura reference.
Oh, I love Ace Ventura.
Apparently you do.
Apparently, I haven't watched it in a long time.
Laces out, Dan.
Apparently, Anthony's Coal Fire Pizza, they have locations in Florida, Pennsylvania, and New York, and coming soon there will be one in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. So it would be great to see the Funky Buddha beer come up to these northeast United States.
Yeah. Now, the cool thing with them is they were voted Best Pizzeria, Best Wings, and Best Local Chain in the 2013 Sun Sentinel / SouthFlorida.com, the Best of South Florida Readers Poll. Very wordy. Now, as Steph mentioned, they have locations all around Florida, Delaware, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. For more information on any of this, or if it's coming to Wyomissing, which would be really cool.
Or a location.
Yeah,
near you.
Alex said I gave him my card, and he said he would contact me as soon as he knows. So hopefully we can put it on the Beer Busters social media site.
That would be very good. You can also go to www.acfp.com for more information. Now, the other thing that we saw is kind of cool. This kind of hits home to me. Something that's near and dear to the Beer Busters podcast is Dogfish Head Brewery. And we all know and love them for their very eccentric beers that are actually very delicious as well. They have a very good music theme because Sam, the founder, is a huge fan of music. They announced that April Hop and its other seasonals are getting a refreshed look thanks to artist Jermaine Rogers, who is an artist that worked with Radiohead, Neil Young, David Bowie, Deftones, Eddie Vedder, and hundreds of others, according to a blog post on the Dogfish website. Now, they're doing labels for all sorts of seasonals, which is really, really cool. And we're going to post a link on beerbusterspodcast.com where it's going to have the artwork that's there. And the one I really like is the Festina Peach, which is a peach beer, has a rabid raccoon with bright red eyes hoarding a peach.
I can see it from here. It's
I like
pretty awesome.
I like the piercing pills one with the rabid
out.
cats.
Oh,
drooling
yeah, that's really cool.
Bright red eyes. That's hilarious.
They all have bright red eyes.
Yeah.
There's a theme emerging here.
Yeah, that's true. The April Hop looks like it has a rabbit with bright red eyes drooling over an apricot. And then there's also the pumpkin ale, which has what looks to be a beer with red eyes. Now, this is the only
bear.
animal out of all of them that... Oh, no, I lie. The piercing pills that has pupils in these giant red eyes. But
Snake-like vertical slit pupils.
And all fangs, apparently.
Yeah.
But it's really cool artwork. And what I really like
Devouring
about...
a pumpkin.
What I really like about the pumpkin ale is it's pumpkin and there's like a circle, like a dot in between them, and that has...
Oh, so you get the anarchy sign?
Yeah, the anarchy symbol, which I think is a cool way to work that in.
So
And
this-
the music.
oh, yeah, please.
This was Jermaine. What was his name?
Jermaine Rogers.
Okay, and he's done album art for like tons
For a
and tons
lot of international
You know,
artists.
I would be interesting, and we can look it up, and when we link to these labels, we can add this as well, is to figure out what specific albums
Right.
he's done artwork for, so you can
Yep.
sort of compare the labels.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
to
I
the
think
other
that'd be
work he's
really
done.
cool.
Yeah, he has a website, JermaineRogers.com, and there's a lot of his artwork listed here.
Yeah, so keep an eye, beerbusterspodcast.com for the artwork. I really think you will like it. Now, that was all that we really saw news-wise. What I do want to do is get to know our homebrewing couple that is here. So, again, we have Peter and Veronica. Thank you so much for coming out with us, guys.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for having us.
I know Steph is pretty good friends with you guys, being in the Berks Homebrew Club, and I'll admit this is the first time I'm meeting you guys, and it's very nice to have you here. Now, I don't really know much about you. Normally, we have people write little bios for us, and we only have a couple talking points here, which I noticed, Peter, you're a software engineer for Intel.
I am.
Okay. You and I might get along very well. But, so software engineer for Intel, how long have you been there?
I've been actually, for Intel, it's only been, I think, 3 years, because they basically bought the company I was working for. I work for it's the mobile phone division,
Oh, wow.
which they bought from Infineon Technologies, which is where I started.
Oh.
So, total, I've been working in the same place for 5 years.
Okay.
But
it's only been
three of
Intel.
them have been Intel.
Right.
Have you done any, like, if you're working in the mobile division, mobile phone division, do you do, like, operating system architecture, or do you do app coding or anything like that, or?
It's more like the drivers for the modem part.
Okay. Cool.
So
Sorry to
it's
get techie
nothing,
for those of us in here who are not techie people. But no, that stuff.
Who don't know
really
what
interesting.
lightsabers are.
It's true. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, we don't make lightsabers, unfortunately.
Although if there were to be a company that would invent it, I believe it is Intel.
Yeah, they would have
They
the
would
money
be.
for it.
Yeah,
That's true.
or Apple.
Or Apple. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
It would be the iSaber.
Oh, that might already
Or-
be in production.
Yeah, probably.
Intel might invent it, but Apple would make you want one.
That's true.
That's
Apple will
true.
market it.
Exactly.
And you can get it in 50 different colors.
Yes.
Now, I know we were supposed to have you guys on a couple of weeks ago, but you went to India for a work trip, right?
Yeah, it came up kind of last minute. I had to go to Bangalore for a couple of weeks. So I actually got back, I think it was the day that we were supposed to record.
That was the day that you actually got back?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I can only
So-
imagine the jet lag.
If I had a little earlier flight, I might have been able to make it, but yeah, it would have been gone like 30 hours with no sleep.
Oh, no. That would not have been good.
Okay, I have to ask. How were the beers there?
Valid question.
Yeah, so the most common one I found was Kingfisher, which is like the big brewery that's based in Bangalore. I would compare it to like Molson, basically. However, this trip, this was actually my second time there. This trip, I had the opportunity to go to a couple of craft brew pubs, which was very nice.
Oh, nice.
And they had, I only tried, I guess, one beer at each one, but they were decent. Yeah.
Indian craft brew pubs.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Ironically, they didn't have any IPAs.
You.
Either of them.
that is very That
So I
is
think at one I had
rather
a stout,
strange.
and the other there was a Citra Pale Ale.
Oh,
Cool. So is there a big craft beer fandom over there? Or is it sort of?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
From the one work colleague I was out with was saying that I think he wants to start homebrewing, but he says that it's sort of an untapped market in terms of the homebrew supply, at least.
All right.
Oh,
Well, and I
wow,
would also
man.
imagine that given that it's an economy that has only sort of recently started to, rise a little bit, and as people are, more of a middle class there, that's the
Right.
sort of thing that would appeal. That's where things like craft beer, gourmet foods, are things that are going to start to pop up.
Yeah,
in a
exactly.
society like that. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess there are a few of the smaller breweries. I would say it was probably like a 4-barrel brew house at each of the pubs I went to. I'm not sure how many. I don't think there are any like of the scale that we have here. The big, nothing like Dogfish Head for sure.
yeah.
Right.
But,
Well, I feel like Dogfish is just another beast
Yeah,
in and of itself.
it is.
Yeah.
Veronica, I know you've been pretty quiet over there. Now, you have a bachelor's degree in nursing, correct?
Yes.
And you work at the Reading Hospital?
Yep, I work night shift at the Reading Hospital, post-acute building. So if I say anything silly, it's probably can be blamed on lack of sleep.
and not beer.
Very nice. How long have you been doing that?
Oh, since 2007.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
quite a while.
Yeah.
Cool.
What is it now? 24? 7 years. Okay.
Yep,
Sorry.
7 years.
Math is not my
Sorry.
forte. Now, I feel like
Because
I
of lack of sleep and not beer.
Yeah, let's go with that. And not me being. No comment.
So you have not recently traveled abroad for your job or had the
No.
chance to try
No.
foreign beers.
Nope.
You know,
No
I
travel.
recently read, speaking of hospitals, I read a fact on the internet that said something like half of hospitals in the 65 largest metropolitan areas in the United States say that they offer alcoholic beverages to their patients.
Really?
Yeah. And is there any alcohol of any kind served at the Reading Hospital? I wouldn't think so.
No.
That sounded kind of
Um,
dubious to me.
There,
so.
there are situations more likely in nursing homes where if somebody
Okay.
tends to have a drink before they go to bed, the
Right.
nursing home can
You can
treat
get a
it like a
prescription,
medication.
right?
You can get a prescription for
Yes.
a single drink
Yes.
before
for,
bed.
for 2 fingers of brandy each evening.
There was an episode of Scrubs that is one of my favorite ones where JD and Turk are talking to this patient who he's not going to make it through the night, and they're just talking to him about his life experiences, and his last request is a beer. And they have to, well, first he wants a cigar, but he's going to blow up the hospital if he gets it because he's on an oxygen tank.
Yeah, not a good idea.
But then he says, I want a beer. So they go and get him a beer, and he takes a sip of it, and he goes, this is the best damn beer I've ever had. And it's just such a cool, touching thing, and I didn't know that was something that could actually happen, that hospitals would serve
brought a
alcohol.
tear to my eye.
You know what? It was a very touching episode, and I
Yeah.
really liked it.
That was a good show. Yeah, I thought it was a weird fact. I thought that seems kind of strange.
Yeah, they don't serve it
I
in the
can't imagine
in the
that.
cafeteria.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
At least
yeah.
not any of the
Maybe more
hospitals
people
around
would
here.
visit if they served.
Maybe they would.
You can like go
More
visit
business.
a relative in the hospital and have a drink
have a drink.
out.
Yeah.
Can
you
I
know,
bill
at
it to
the
my
same time.
insurance?
Yeah, and let's face it, when you're visiting certain relatives, you do need a drink before.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth? So you guys, you guys also are German. I can't say it. Dancers, right?
Hold on, schuhplattler.
Close enough.
Close. Yeah, through our Schuhplattler Verein in
There you
Ole,
go.
Pennsylvania. It's a thing that my family has done for generations now. So that's
That's pretty cool.
Fun.
It's like a
So-
traditional German folk dancing kind of thing.
Yep, with
Yeah.
the dirndls and the lederhosen.
Nice.
And
Very nice.
And that was part of the deal
And
when you
the
got
mugs of
married,
beer.
right?
Yes.
Oh, long before that even.
Long before that.
First time I showed up, they handed me a pair of lederhosen.
I was introducing Peter to my family, and he walked in, and they threw him a pair of lederhosen and said, "Here, put these on." Now, we were 16, 17 at the time,
Yeah.
and I was completely mortified.
I can imagine.
And when he went into the when he didn't run screaming, I was like, "Oh, there's some promise in this."
This one's
And
deeper.
he actually went into the bathroom and got changed and
Wow.
wore those lederhosen.
That's a
Rest
theme
of the
because
night.
I know Steph has gotten Rich into lederhosen on more than one
Yes.
occasion. I've seen Rich in lederhosen.
I don't think I
Absolutely.
have.
Oh, I have.
I think we just missed it at your Oktoberfest. I think you
Yeah, I think
You
by
had
the
just
time
changed out by the
he
time
had
we got
just
there.
changed, yeah. But you guys did perform for us,
We
which was
did, yes.
awesome.
It's very
I
cool.
loved it.
That's cool.
Have you guys ever been to Germany?
Yes. I went
Yes.
with my family, and then we went with the high school. We did a trip.
Actually, when I first started my job, I got to go to Munich at the tail end of Oktoberfest.
Oh, really?
one, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was
that's
pretty fun.
cool. So you do a lot of overseas traveling with your job, or is it sort of a
it's-
once in a while?
It's
or?
been averaging about once a year lately, so it's,
Oh, that's cool.
I've been to. They've only sent me to Germany once. I went to Korea one time. That was the second time I was in India.
Right. Yeah.
There was one trip actually to Poland also.
There's good beer in Poland. Poland's got a pretty
Yeah.
rich beer history.
Yeah, I feel like I've had
Yeah.
good Polish beer.
So let's talk about the reason we actually have you on as guests. You are a homebrewing couple. How does that work? Because I'm a homebrewer and I just have my spouse clean up after me, but you guys actually brew together.
Well, for our 1-year anniversary, we had friends who were brewing. We were interested in it, so I surprised him by taking him to Weekney Homebrew Supply, and we bought a homebrew kit, like the box kit for the beer and the kit with all the supplies. And we figured we'd try it, and we just kind of dove right in head first. After we started brewing, I found out from my family that I have a history of brewing in the family. My great-great-grandfather, Hubert Eichler, brewed. He was a head brewer in Reading at P. Barley and Sons Brewery, which became Sunshine Brewery.
Oh, okay.
And he brewed in New York, Texas, and Illinois as well.
Oh, cool.
So you come from a long line of brewers and schuhplattlers.
We actually have his brew book from when he brewed. It's all in German script, and it's essentially a how to brew guide.
Oh, that's cool.
That's so
teaches
cool.
you
Yeah, that's awesome.
everything you wanted to know about brewing in
So you-
German.
So neither of you were homebrewing before you got together. It was something you both started to do together.
Right,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
'Cause it makes it a little less scary when you have somebody else along for the
Yeah.
ride.
yeah.
I feel like that's why I haven't done it yet. I don't know what I'm doing with it. Which is why we still have to brew our Beer Busters.
Yeah, we've
A
talked about
collaboration
that
brew.
for many episodes
We
now.
really
We need
have.
to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid to do it on my own because I have no idea what I'm
No,
doing.
we'll do it together. It's more fun when you do it
Do it
together.
It is.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
But you know, our podcast is almost a year old, and I think we should celebrate our 1-year anniversary.
It really is.
By brewing, that's
May,
true.
Yep, in May it'll be a year.
Beginning of May,
That
yeah.
gives us 2 months to work on this.
Yes, 2 months from now.
Just enough
a month
time
from when you're
for it to
hearing
ferment.
this.
No,
No.
2 months from when they're
When
hearing
it's
this. That's why
airing.
I said that.
3 from recording. Well, 2.5 from recording.
Oh.
2
They
from
don't need to
airing.
know that.
Anyway.
So you guys don't brew on the same system, however, I learned.
No,
No,
not really.
No, we brew side by side. When we started brewing, we brewed together, and then Peter wanted to get more traditional and go all grain, whereas I was very happy with the simple extract. Throw it together, similar to Betty Crocker mix. You just kind of put it all together.
I like the analogy.
Follow the directions,
Kind of
and
hard
at
foolproof.
the end you get a pretty decent product.
Yeah.
I mean, not as good as from scratch, but also a lot better than if you screwed it up. trying from
There's nothing
scratch.
more painful than having to dump a batch of homebrew.
So we were able to actually brew side by side in the time that he would be doing the mash for his all grain. I would be boiling my extract kit so we could do 2 5-gallon batches at the same time. And from there, since we were brewing 10 gallons, well, what's the next step is to increase to 20-gallon brew pot, which he does, and I'm still
Yeah.
on my small 5
I think you could
gallon.
fit a person in that brew pot, by
You,
the way.
yeah.
you can,
It's
yeah.
huge.
I think we have actually.
That sounds like a story you're not going to tell.
For legal reasons. So you guys also make your own tap handles, which we have here on the table. So what are some of these that we have in front of us here?
Yeah, we got into kegging fairly early on because bottling's such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just don't like the idea of using the generic plastic handles. So basically anything you can find, you can turn into a tap handle. So
So I've got like an antler here on the
Yeah.
end.
I was
That's
wondering what
pretty
that was.
Cool.
Yeah,
It's like,
my-
is that
my
like
dad
pewter,
has,
or is that like
my
some
dad
sort of...
has an aluminum foundry,
Oh, okay.
and that's one of the products they make, and it's really easy. You just drill the tap hole in the bottom, and there you go. We have that one for Christmas. We have one that goes in each direction, and then a round ball.
Oh,
our
for the middle.
3-tap
Oh, that's cool.
tower. It's very
Oh,
cute.
I like that. I like that. That's neat.
Then we
And,
have a coffee
coffee mug.
mug for our coffee stout, or anytime we brew something with coffee.
I was wondering what that one would be.
Yeah.
We have a
A
bone.
bone
That
for
was
when you
for
brew your
that was
Halloween.
a
marrow
Halloween.
stout.
That's when we have. We tend to have a Halloween party, and that's one of the tap handles at our Halloween party. We do an Irish cream
Oh.
stout, which tastes
that one?
like
4-leaf clover.
like a
Yes.
car bomb in a glass without all the little curdled bits.
Oh,
at
that's
the
an
end.
actual 4-leaf clover
Yeah,
mounted
but-
under plastic. Oh, that
It
is
is,
really
yeah.
cool. Oh, wow.
found
Oh,
that in
I
our
thought-
yard.
Wow, I thought it was drawn.
No.
No, so that's for St. Patty's Day. Then of course we have our pumpkin ale, an apple cider. That's just a plastic pumpkin and plastic apple. Then we have
The
Senor
chili.
Chili.
Senior chili is cool.
It's a plastic pepper we glued googly eyes onto, a hat, and baby arms, and that's for pepper beer.
Which
Steph
I've
used
borrowed that
one.
tap handle a couple times.
We have a light bulb, which is usually one on our tap system.
Is that when you
at
have a
home. It's
really
for-
good idea for a beer?
No, actually, it's for our
Usually the
quote
lightest.
unquote quote light beer, which
Right.
isn't light in alcohol, usually lightest in color.
Right.
So
And you have the
a
skeleton,
Belgian would go in
the
there.
skull
Yeah,
here.
the skull, that was a specialty one that Peter created for Halloween. It's for his undead redhead. It's beer brewed with red beets and ginger, but the red beets give the beer. The beer is really dark, but when you pour it, it gets a thick burgundy-colored head.
Yeah, or pinkish at least.
Pink,
Oh,
yeah, well,
really?
yeah,
From the red
pink-
beets.
pink
Yeah,
this
that's
time.
cool.
And then we have a grenade that we painted to look like a strawberry for our strawberry explosion, which is a 5-gallon batch brewed with 10 pounds of strawberries. So it really has a punch you in the face strawberry flavor.
Oh, it's a delicious beer. I think that's like, to me, it's like the famous Littlefieds beer.
The flagship
The
Littlefield
flagship Littlefield beer
Yeah,
right there.
that's cool.
Now, at your Halloween party, you also did you carved out a pumpkin as well, didn't you?
Yeah, we actually two. Well, the one I had a firkin arrangement with pieces of pumpkin in it that I was running the pumpkin ale through, and then I carved out another one. Had one of my friends mount a faucet on it somehow, and put our hard cider in there with some spices and more pumpkin chunks as well.
I actually posted a picture of the firkin on the Beer Busters Instagram page at
Oh,
your
nice.
party.
Oh, okay.
So if anybody's interested, you can scroll back through
Yeah,
the
and
page,
and
the
all
pictures.
these taps will definitely be in the pictures on our website. We've got a lot of
Absolutely.
cool shots of them. So yeah, definitely want to check those out. Those are very cool. I used to go to this bar out in at the end of Pricetown Road. I don't know, a tiny little town at the very end of the road.
Blythe Hartman.
No, Alexander's.
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 Oh, that one.
That's
yeah.
out
Yeah.
near
That's
where
pretty
we
close
live.
to it.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's yeah. And I actually used to play in a band, and we used to play there. And actually, he used to let us have our rehearsals there. We keep our equipment there. We got really friendly with the owner. But he had in his back room, he had sort of a timber, sort of like chair rail, about that all around the room, and he had all these taps drilled into it, all like every foot or so
Oh,
there was a
okay.
tap. And it was really cool. It reminded me of that when you came down with this. You brought me back there.
Very cool. Well, again, we do want to thank you guys for coming to the Beer Busters podcast basement to be with us. I'm very excited to get to the brews you guys have with us. But first, Wayne always prepares a little bit of a game for us. So, Wayne, what do we have today?
Well, it's more than a little bit of a game, Dan.
It's
a
a lot of
happy fun
Happy Fun Time game.
Yes, welcome to another awe-inspiring edition of Happy Fun Time Games, a jamboree of joy and jocularity. Expand your mind and maybe your vocabulary.
No spelling this time, I
no,
hope.
No, there's no spelling this time.
Thank God.
No, this is a brand new game we're playing today, and this game is called Brew or False. Now, this is not to be confused with the classic libation or fabrication. This is an entirely different game. This is actually quite simply, I'm just going to state a fact or not. You need to tell me whether that fact is true or false. Quick and simple and easy. And we'll all alternate who goes first, and we will begin with Dan, who is sitting to my left.
As always.
And this first fact, Dan, tell me whether this is true or false. Is it true that hops are poisonous to dogs and cats? Is that true or false? Hops, poisonous to dogs and cats.
It's a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, all of them are, in fact.
So I'm going to say false.
You were going to say false.
That's true.
Damn it.
Steph will say it's true. Peter, what do you think?
I'll go with true.
You go with true?
I know it's true about dogs, so I'm going to go with true.
You're going to go with true as well. Everybody agreeing with Steph, which is usually a safe bet. Yes, it is in fact true. So everybody except Dan was correct because he's in the unenviable position of going first. Yes, hops are in fact Humulus lupulus, commonly known as hops, are in fact poisonous to dogs and cats. The dogs are more likely to ingest them because dogs. As homebrewing increases in popularity, the risk of exposure to pets increases as more people have hops lying around their home. The exact toxic principle is unknown, but it may be related to essential oils, resins, phenolic compounds, or nitrogenous constituents within the plant. Signs of hop poisoning include malignant hyperthermia, which is a fancy way of saying a fever, increased breathing, racing heart rate, anxiety, vomiting, abnormal clotting, and even death, which can occur within 6 hours of ingestion without treatment. Yes,
Wow.
yes. So be very careful. If you homebrew and you have pets, do not let your pets get near your hops because they are in fact poisonous.
That's actually how I got my hops. The friend of mine who gave them to me, they got a dog. So his wife's like, you need to get rid of the hops.
Oh, wow.
So that's
wow.
how I inherited them.
Your hop plants, I assume.
Yes, they were
your hot
plants.
Yes. Yeah. So they are poisonous. Like many delicious things, dogs and cats can't eat them. So we're moving right along, and we're going to start with Steph on this one. And this fact or not is the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock because they ran out of beer. Is that true or is that false?
True.
Steph says that's true. Peter, what do you think?
I'm going to go with true as well.
You're going to go with true as well. Veronica, what do you think?
True.
True. Dan, what do you think?
Steph said true, so true.
So everybody's saying true, and everybody is incorrect.
What?
I was
Yes.
gonna say false.
This is an oft-repeated myth that has obvious appeal. It is strictly untrue, however, though it does contain a grain of truth. The Mayflower was at sea for 2 months, and when they did make landfall, they were off course. They were actually aiming for the Virginia colony, which had already been permanently established some 13 years prior, and they were running low on supply in generals. The Pilgrims, as we call them, were simply passengers, and the ship's crew had to make the journey back to England. As such, they weren't out of anything, or they never would have made it back. They were concerned, however, that their supplies were wearing thin as far as what they would require to make it back across the Atlantic. And yes, beer was a rather important cargo, as freshwater was far more susceptible to various contaminations and couldn't be replenished while at sea. So the passengers were, quote, hastened ashore somewhere near the top of Cape Cod. But they weren't out of beer, and they didn't stop because they ran out of beer. They just were running low on supply in generals, and people had to go back on the boat.
Well, that just stinks. I like the myth I
However,
heard better.
the prevalence of this myth can be attributed to none other than Budweiser. In the run-up to Prohibition, the company began running ads attempting to portray beer as being deeply rooted in American history, touting that our Pilgrim forefathers drank it. After the repeal of Prohibition, the ad campaign went even further, inventing the story that the Pilgrims landed because they ran out of beer, and the first thing they did was build a brewery, when actually the first thing they did was build shelter so as to avoid dying in the coming winter. So, no, that is untrue.
Wait, you can't live in
Everybody
your
was
brewery?
wrong. No.
I think that you could.
Yeah, you probably could.
I would build a room in my brewery.
I live in my brewery.
I live in my brewery. Yes, but no, that is not true. Many people think it is, thanks to Budweiser, but it is not. It's an interesting story, though. It'd be nice if it were true. Moving along, and Peter's up to bat first on this one, and this fact is that Bowser beer for dogs is a thing that really exists. Is that true or false? Bowser beer for dogs. Does that exist?
I'm gonna go with true.
You're going to go with true on that one. Veronica, what do you think? Agree or disagree?
I agree. I think I've heard of that.
You think it's true. Circle gets the square. Dan, what do you think? True or false?
Pretty sure I've seen it. I'm going true.
Dan's going true as well. And rounding out,
Peer
Steph.
pressure is causing me to also say true.
Steph's also going to say true. Same strategy as last time. Everybody goes true, but this time it pays off because you are all correct.
Yay.
Bowser beer is a real thing. It's produced by Three Busy Dogs, which is a company that was founded in 2007 AD. Bowser beer comes in two styles, beefy brown ale and cock-a-doodle brew. It can be found in pet stores and pet supply shops, as well as breweries and beer and wine outlets. It's made with beef or chicken broth. It has malted barley and glucosamine, which is for joint health, apparently.
But no hops.
However, it contains no yeast and therefore no alcohol, so it will not get your dog drunk, and no hops because, as we've learned, hops, like so many delicious things, are doggy cyanide. Three Busy Dogs also sells other canine treats and wares and helps support charities like Animal Rescue and Assistance Animals organizations. It should be noted that Bowser beer is not the only beer for dogs available out there. It is, however, as far as I know, the only one that shares its name with a certain demonic turtle with an unhealthy disdain for plumbers and a penchant for kidnapping princesses.
I got that one. Oh, and by the way, while currently unavailable, Bowser beer is on Amazon.
There you go.
I wonder if you could add yeast to it and ferment it
And make an
yourself.
actual beer out of it.
Oh,
Yeah,
perhaps.
they do say on their website. Yeah, well, yeah, it's mostly it tastes like dog food. It's either beef or chicken broth. They make their own broth. It's not commercial broth, and they add no
Okay.
salt. They make the point of that. It's all natural and all that good stuff. They do also say that many cats enjoy it. Many people who buy it for their dogs, they
All
find
right.
that their cats also enjoy it. Yeah. Bowser beer. Okay, moving right along. And Veronica, you're up to battle first on this one. And this is our last one. And this one is only 7 people have reached the Master Cicerone level in the Cicerone certification program. Is that true or false?
I'm going to go with true.
You're going to go with true on that one. Dan, what do you think? Only 7 people. 7. You could count them on 2 hands. Not 1,
You might.
but 2.
You can.
Because you have 7 fingers on each hand?
Maybe. I'm going to say, Steph, what's your guess?
Flip
I'm
a
gonna
coin.
say false.
You're going to say false.
Not true. Incorrect.
Not true, untrue, a bald-faced lie. Steph, do you think that's true
I
or
know
false?
it's a really low number.
But is
I'm
it
not sure
7?
if it's 7. And I know one of them is a woman, which
It's
is
the magic
really
number.
awesome. I'm going to say true.
You're going to say true, and Peter, what do you think as Dan weeps into his microphone?
Weeping away from my microphone so it doesn't get picked up.
I'll go with Dan and say false.
There you go. Oh, you're going to agree with Dan.
Thank you.
Usually a bad idea because you are wrong.
Yeah, sorry.
Steph and
Don't
Veronica,
follow my lead.
the ladies at the table are correct. Yes, only 7 people in the entire universe have achieved a Master Cicerone certification.
You don't know about the rest of the universe.
The Cicerone program, which certifies beer servers much like wine sommeliers, has 3 levels of certification: Certified Beer Server, Certified Cicerone, and Master Cicerone. The Master level requires passing an in-person exam over 2 days of testing. Consists of 8 hours of written exam, 2 hours of oral exam, and 2 hours of beer tasting and evaluation. From the Cicerone website, it says of the Master Cicerones, those who achieve this certification possess encyclopedic knowledge of beer and highly refined tasting ability. Such knowledge generally results from years of thoughtful study and tasting, travel to classic beer-producing areas, hands-on experience with beer service, in-depth familiarity with brewing and ingredients, and frequent and repeated experience in beer and food pairing. Candidates have not only knowledge but experience and, as a result, an informed and nuanced understanding of the universe of beer flavors. 7 people have achieved Master Cicerone status. The Cicerone program began around 2007, I believe. So that's our last question, and I'm going to add up the scores real quick, and let's see. Dan has 1 point.
At least I have a point.
Steph has 3 points. Peter has 2 points, and Veronica has 3 points. We have a tie, ladies and gentlemen. A tie between the 2 ladies at the table. I don't have a tiebreaker.
So we both just win.
Do
I'm
you
fine
know-
with that.
That's fine.
Do either of you know what the French call a hangover?
No.
They call it a wood mouth. Do either of you know what Germans call a hangover? They call it wailing of the cats. How about Norwegians?
Wait, no.
Carpenters in the head, Swedes?
Meatballs.
Pain in the hair roots. Methods for curing hangovers. These are little bonus facts. Ancient Greeks ate cabbages. Ancient Romans ate fried canaries to cure a hangover. Some Chinese drink spinach tea, and if I ate spinach, I'd be called Spinach D. Some Haitians stick 13 black-headed needles into the cork of the bottle from which they drank, and Russians drink vodka.
What just happened?
Yes. What just happened is we played another awesome, happy, fun time game, and thank you all for playing along, and I hope you all learned something. So Dan and Peter, unfortunately, the ladies Steph and Veronica handed you your asses.
Veronica, I thank you for beating the shit out of me.
I got that clip specifically for when I lost this game.
Because inevitably you knew you would
It was
lose.
gonna happen. It always happens. I haven't won since like episode 4.
You won when we had Nick on from Trogs.
Did I really?
Yeah, because it was
Oh,
the pop
because
culture.
So you intentionally didn't work in pop culture after that, so I could continue to lose.
Actually, I intentionally did that time because I felt bad for you.
Thanks. Kind of figured that.
No, your beers. No. Know your beers. So on this episode's rendition of Know Your Beers, we're going to talk about the Lambic style because the Littlefieds brought along 2 different years of their cranberry lambic, which I'm very excited to try. So a lambic is a complex, fruity, pleasantly sour, and acidic balanced pale wheat ale fermented by a variety of Belgian microbiota. I think I pronounced it right. The name
Microbiota.
micro.
I don't know if that's correct, but I think it sounds better. Microbiota.
The name Lambic comes from Lambic, which is a town near Brussels. Lambics are spontaneously fermented beers brewed in a small region of Belgium in the Sende River Valley, southwest of Brussels. They are the only beers fermented via wild airborne yeast, and no yeast is added at all by the brewers. Most lambics are a blend of a 1-year-old and 2-year-old to 3-year-old lambic to help preserve a brewer's distinctive flavor from year to year. Now, I assume you guys added some sort of yeast to your lambics, or did you spontaneously ferment them?
We did, we had the sour,
We did a full wort sour on it first, which is where you add some grain while the wort is still warm, like in the 120-degree range, before the boil, actually. And then there's wild yeast on the grain, I guess, and the lactobacteria that give it a sour note before you even boil it. And then it was the regular fermentation we used, just a Belgian wit yeast. And then later on we added Brettanomyces.
Now, I read that if you do brew using wild yeast, that you don't then want to use that same equipment to brew when you're using a controlled specific strain.
Especially
of yeast.
plastic equipment.
Right,
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to get all the microbes
It's
out
impossible.
of there. Yeah,
Right.
impossible, in fact.
So,
Unless,
yeah.
set it on fire or something.
We keep the we only add the Brett once it's in the glass fermenter. So glass is supposed to still be fairly immune to that.
Yeah.
Right, you can sort of sterilize it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we do have separate siphons and stuff
Right.
for that.
I always label mine with a big
Hoses
S
and- yeah.
for sour. So fruit is commonly added halfway through the aging process, and the yeast and bacteria will ferment all the sugars from the fruit. And the most traditional styles of fruit lambics include Kriek, which have cherries in, a framboise, which uses raspberries, and a druvenlambic, which uses muscat grapes.
That's
Now,
my favorite one as far as the sound of it when it's named.
Now, you guys used cranberries.
Yes.
At what point did you add them, and what motivated you to choose cranberries as the fruit?
We actually just based it on a recipe in one of the popular homebrew books, which called for cranberries.
Yeah, we just picked up the
Yeah.
book and opened it and we're like, cranberry lambic for New Year's. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
So we decided to try it.
It's supposed to be a tradition where you brew another batch every New Year's, and then add a bottle of the last year's batch to it when you bottle the next year's batch.
Very cool. And did you add the cranberries to the carboy?
Yeah, we did it. It probably was about halfway through the fermentation, I guess. So it goes like a whole year before we bottle it, pretty much. So it's sometime in the summer or spring we usually add them. It's like when I get around to actually ordering the cranberries.
So Lindemann's lambics are probably the ones most are familiar with. They were introduced in the U.S. around 1979. They were the first lambics marketed in the U.S., and to this day they are still the best-selling brand in the category. So let's break down a lambic a little bit. And the aroma, you usually get the aroma of whatever fruit has been added to the beer. And you can also get a sour, acidic flavor as well. And adjectives such as barnyard, earthy, goaty, hay, horsey, and horse blanket are typically used to describe these beers.
They're adjectives that I like.
The appearance, of course, is going to vary depending on the fruit that is used, and the color will fade with age. And there's typically a thick, long-lasting, mousse-like head, sometimes the shade of the fruit. The fruit flavor is very evident in the beer, and sour and acidic characters are present. The younger beers will have more of a full fruity taste, and as it aged, the lambic will become the more souring flavors will come out. The mouthfeel is light to medium-bodied with a tart, wonderfully puckering quality, and they are typically highly carbonated. So ingredients typically used in a lambic are unmalted wheat, Pilsner malt, and aged hops, usually hops that are 3 years or more old. And the aged hops are used for more preservative effects, of course, than bittering. Fruits traditionally used, again, include cherries, raspberries, and muscat grapes. But brewers have also been known to use peaches, apricots, and Merlot grapes.
That Dogfish beer that I believe got mentioned earlier, the
Festina Peche.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that a lambic? Is that just a peach?
I want to say it's not.
I don't think it is. But when you mentioned peaches,
They
I
consider
thought
it
of
a
that.
sour, but I don't know what the...
But it's not.
I think there might also be a what do they call it? A geographical trademark on the
It's
lambic
a
name.
Berliner Weiss.
Okay.
So,
one of those where
hold
it
on,
has
let
to
me
be.
actually answer you so
Yeah.
we can cut that out. So Festina Peche is considered a Berliner Weiss, which is another style of a sour beer, which typically use fruits. But typically a Berliner Weiss in Berlin, they will add a fruit syrup to the beer.
Right.
Instead of fruits to the actual
fruit. Now, is
beer
that
itself.
one of those Berliner Weiss? Does that have to be from Berlin?
No.
Okay.
No, that's done.
Just checking.
No, there are some great craft breweries in like Round Guys locally. They're
Right.
known. Their Berliner Weiss was one of their first beers. and
Right.
they're
Well,
known
this
for
is
that.
the sort of thing like Parmesan cheese has to come from Parmesan, and champagne has to
Champagne.
come from Champagne.
No. And I've heard by some Berliners that you'll only see tourists in Berlin actually drinking that beer. I don't know how true that is, but someone from Berlin told me that one time. But anyway, so traditionally these beers are, again, spontaneously fermented with natural occurring yeast and bacteria, and they typically use oak barrels. Homebrewed and craft brewed versions are more typically made of pure cultures of yeast, commonly including Saccharomyces, Brettanomyces, Pediococcus, Lactobacillus, in an attempt to kind of recreate the microbiota of Brussels and the Sende River Valley. So most obviously, Lindemans and Cantillon are the big examples that people know, but a lot of American craft brewers are taking on this style. New Belgium, Allagash, Firestone Walker, they've all done great examples. So let's taste the Littlefieds Lambics.
In its 35 years of existence, the American Homebrewers Association has helped many people begin and continue their quest to make the perfect beer at home. As a long-standing member of the AHA, Colin Presby has gone above and beyond in his local community to grow the appreciation for craft beer and homebrewing. Having founded the Berks County Homebrew Club in 2010, he has successfully led the club through 4 years of growth. Colin also teaches homebrewing at Goggleworks Center for the Arts in Reading, Pennsylvania. Looking to the future, Colin is running for a position with the governing committee of the AHA to bring a much-needed perspective from the East Coast in a Western-dominated governing body. If you support increased communication between local clubs and organizations, Colin Presby is your man. A vote for Colin Presby is a vote for the betterment of homebrewers across the country.
I'm Colin Presby, and I approve this message.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
Okay, I'm very excited for this.
Yes, as am I.
So we talked about how, Veronica, you're more the extract side of things, and Peter, you're more the all-grain side of things. Can you talk a little bit about the misconception between extract and all-grain for a little bit as we're passing around these beers?
Well, mainly people say that for better beer you have to do all grain because it's just better. It tastes better. You don't get as many off flavors. But if you're just brewing for fun, to share with friends who aren't those 7 master cicerones in the world, usually an extract batch is just fine. It's you don't need nearly as much equipment, and it tends to be quite a bit shorter brewing time than with the all grain. All grain is a full day affair, and extract is a few hours.
Oh, there's no shame in using stovetop.
I still use it when it's cold out.
Stovetop.
I like to
Yeah.
brew outside, but I still use the stovetop. It takes a very, very long time to get my water up to boil sometimes. But I think extract is a great way for anybody who doesn't want to spend a lot of money but really wants to get into it, doesn't want to spend a lot of time in, because you can make some really delicious beers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Peter, talk about your
it's-
motivation to go all green.
Well, for one, it's cheaper because you can buy grain for less than it costs to buy extract of the same grain. Of course, you have to do more work.
There's those
as
trade-offs. You
expected.
spend less money, but more time.
Exactly.
And I guess the upfront cost is a little more as well
Yeah,
because
there's
of all the
more
equipment.
equipment involved as well. But you get a lot more control out of the whole process because one of the variables that you have is what temperature you mash at, which affects the profile of the wort that comes out of the mash. You can get a less fermentable wort, which will have more body and will finish a little bit sweeter, or you can get a more fermentable wort that'll finish drier with a bit less body. And it's all depending on the temperature that you mash at, which when you buy extract, that's already done for you, so you have no control over that variable.
That's sort of the part where we become mad scientists, though. When you get to
Exactly,
that.
yeah.
So thank you. So the first beer I passed around was the 2013 Lambic, and the second one that's coming around is the 2012. So is this an all grain beer or is this an extract beer?
If I remember correctly, the 2012 is an all grain, but it was one of my early all grains, and since it's primarily wheat, I didn't entirely know what I was doing, so I think I didn't mash for long enough, and I think it came out quite weak, actually. I think it's only like 3.5% maybe. It might say on the bottle, I forget.
No, it doesn't say on the
Oh, I probably left it off because it was so weak.
Either way, yeah.
Now, this is a great example because I was talking about this. The 2012 that is aged longer, you definitely get more of the sour notes in the aroma than the 2013 version.
I forgot which is which now.
That's why I did two different glasses. So which one am I supposed to try first? Does it matter?
Whichever one you want.
Okay.
You're right. Even in the taste, you get more sour in the 2012.
Oh, yeah.
The color of this
Oh,
is
yeah.
very interesting.
I
It's-
love the color.
Yeah,
it's so pretty.
it's a peachy, pinkish.
It almost looks like a Cosmo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
it does.
cloudy and yeah, it's very fruity looking.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't brew it exactly the same both times, so I can't guarantee that that's from the aging and not
just
from the process.
The process of
'Cause
the
It was a good
recipes.
example, but I just talked about it.
I'm really getting the tart out of the 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm used to with a beer.
And
I think this might actually be the first Lambic I've had.
And you do get those barnyardy characteristics in the aroma.
But aren't
The
they
second
so
one.
pleasant?
They are good.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
you
yeah.
smell it and you think sweaty socks, but it's not.
But it's
bad.
a good
Yeah.
sweaty sock. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. With a little bit of fruit in there.
I know you don't understand until you've had a good sour beer. Then you understand
you
how
get
those
it.
I
adjectives
thought you
can
were
be
going to say
positive.
till I have a good sweaty sock.
Oh, you
Or a
have
good
plenty of
sweaty
good sweaty
sock.
socks. I know that, Dan.
You secretly love the smell of your sweaty socks. Come
No,
on now.
I don't.
Everybody does.
But I do love the smell of this beer.
If you have an extra glass, you might even try mixing them together.
Ooh,
as
good
Steph-
idea.
Steph mentioned a lot of times they're blended of 2 or 3 different years.
Oh, look at that. Steph has extra glasses.
That's it, though, because Wayne broke one of them before recording.
Might have.
I
broken.
may have. We still don't know what happened.
You owe me a tasting glass.
All right, I owe you a tasting glass, even though I might be innocent. But yeah, the newer, the 2013 definitely is fruitier both in taste and aroma, and the 2012 you get the more sour, horse blankety type stuff.
They do actually mix pretty well.
Yeah,
Like
think
I still get,
I like them really well together. Yeah.
I still get the tart a little bit, but it's not as powerful as it was with the 2012.
Yeah,
And that's
you
why
still
most-
get that flavor. just
Yeah,
not
most
as-
brewers will blend them. That's exactly why.
There's also a style called goose, which I think is a blend of like a much older one with a newer one as well,
Yeah.
which I assume is the same effect.
I like it.
Oh yeah, that is very good. Yeah, the two of them together. It's sort of like the what's predominant in each sort of complements each other when you put them together.
The best of both worlds.
You do. You get the
Exactly.
fruity tartness comes out a little more, and mixes well with those more.
We could just sit and drink and
I
not
know.
and not talk.
Not talk.
And then I can finish my line and say hermaphroditic porn, and we can cut that out.
I was going to sing Miley Cyrus, so.
No, the best of both worlds.
Get the
Hermaphroditic porn.
best of both worlds.
Wow.
Wow.
Remember, I'm in charge of editing and these sound effects.
So we're hoping to brew get a few years worth of this built up, and then we can do big vertical in a couple more years.
Nice.
Would you ever want to try to brew it with a different fruit?
I'm not sure.
No,
think,
I like the cranberry.
I like the cranberry
I like
too.
cranberry.
Because
too,
it's a tart fruit to begin
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
so you get that tart punch.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I think I think that gives it more of a distinct fruity character. Like a lot of beers that you drink that have fruity characters, you think, oh, it's a little mango, oh, it's a little peach, but this is definitely cranberry. Wow.
And when you're giving it to somebody to try for the first time and they don't know what a lambic is and have no idea, and you tell them it's peach or raspberry, they think of the
Lindemans, yeah.
and it's definitely not that sweet soda-y kind of taste that people get from the Lindemans.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Lindemans is very. I think all the times I've ever had it, it's always been at the end of a meal as like a replacement for a dessert. I think like at Brauhaus Schmitz, they serve it in the little 3/10 of a liter, teeny little skinny glasses, and it's so pretty. And
Yeah,
I can't drink a lot of it.
The peach is my sister's favorite beer, and I'm just happy that I got her drinking some beer. But yeah, so if you tell people cranberry, they're not expecting that overly sweet fruit to begin with, and then they try it and they're like, oh, I think this is good.
I think
is that
I like
sweaty
this.
socks I smell?
That's like that
I like
episode
it.
of Star Trek: The Next Generation where Data gets emotions, and he goes to 10 forward, and he has the drink, and he goes, "Oh," and she's like, "What?" He's like, "I don't know," and she's like, "You don't like it?" He's like, "No, I don't.
hate this.
I hate this." And
It's
she goes,
revolting.
It's revolting. More, please. Okay, so this now is the Belgian quad that we've all poured now,
Yes.
and this smells wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah, it
it's
really
does.
really good.
Bourbon-y, vanilla,
Bourbon,
wood.
vanilla, a little oatmeal, mapley kind of thing
Oh,
going
yeah.
on. If I glanced at the bottle correctly, this is 10% ABV.
Pretty close. I
So
think
it's a
I think
session
it's like
beer, Dan?
9.9.
So it's sessionable to Dan. For Dan, it's a session beer.
Yeah, this is actually barrel aged. We got a hold of one of these.
Ooh.
15.
Really good.
Anyway, not to interrupt, but that's delicious.
See, it's sessionable to me because I like the way it tastes.
It tastes even better than the last time I had it. I think because it's
Yeah.
not a little.
This one will get you in trouble.
So you aged this.
Sorry.
Yeah, we aged this in a 15-gallon Dad's Hat rye whiskey barrel.
Okay, nice.
That was actually the first batch that went into that barrel that we have, which currently I have a barley wine in it.
Oh, that should be really good.
Still
too.
going. But yeah, this was before we upgraded to the 20-gallon system, so we actually had to brew 3 batches of this to fill the barrel.
Wow.
Oh wow, yeah. So that's a process.
Yeah,
So this is actually a blend of all grain and extract.
right.
Oh,
It's
okay.
2/3 all grain and 1/3 extract, and I believe the recipe had raisins in it. that
Oh,
went
really?
into the boil,
I would
yeah.
never be able to tell that.
Nice.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's blended
And I-
very well.
What I really
think
like
there's
about this is that I found with barrel aged beers for me can go either way. If they're really heavy on the booze and the bourbon flavor, I kind of like meh. And this has a really intense bourbon flavor, but it's cut really nicely with the sweetness.
I
and
was
sort
going
of
to say the
maltiness.
same exact thing.
Yeah, so it has that strong bourbon and vanilla flavor, but it's not to the point where I'm like, it's too much bourbon.
Yeah, it's
And
it's
it
not
works
too much
really well.
bourbon and it's not too much vanilla either. It's the perfect blend of the two.
Yeah, it's
Right.
balanced. It's balanced very well.
Yeah, and there's no vanilla added to it. I think
Right, it
there's-
just pulls it from the
Yeah,
bourbon
from
and
the barrel.
and the barrel. Yeah.
Did
Yeah,
you put
very
any
good.
aside and not put it in the barrel? It'd be interesting to
No,
compare.
we didn't at that. So like now when I make 20-gallon batches, I can do that. But this one, no, we didn't. We only made 15 gallons. But we did. I think we kegged 2 of them and then bottled the third.
So where did you get the barrel?
We had. I think the guy from Dad's Hat actually brought some to one of the Berks Homebrew Club meetings. And sold them. They also sell them at Keystone Homebrew Supply. They have them sometimes.
They also sell
They're-
maple syrup at Keystone Homebrew that was aged in
That was
in
aged.
that's
Dad's
right,
Hat
yeah.
barrels. Because
That
I picked up
sounds
when I
really
was
good.
in Vermont. I picked up, of course, Vermont maple syrup, and they
Yeah,
at the
dude.
one bottle shop they had it in bourbon barrels. I'm like, yes, thank you, please.
That sounds amazing.
And we actually just
Now,
finished it recently.
I
so-
imagine that imparts some level of alcohol to the syrup. Then
that's a great question. I don't
Yeah.
know, but you definitely get the woody,
I mean-
the
I mean,
vanilla,
when you
smoked
figure
flavors.
how much barrel aging can increase the ABV of a beer, you would imagine if you're aging maple syrup.
Yeah, I see the
you can
logic.
get drunk at breakfast.
And you can get drunk at
I think
breakfast.
you
Why
don't
wouldn't you?
you don't really put that much maple syrup on your breakfast though.
No, I'm just.
I do.
Wow. Dan dips bacon and makes the syrup.
I've done that before.
I'm sure you have.
Mostly at Shady Maple.
He's looking at you like, why are you laughing?
Yeah. I thought this was normal.
I thought this was as normal as cookies and milk. I don't know.
Wait, what? Cookies, milk, what?
But does putting a beer in the barrel increase the ABV, or is it just that you tend to barrel age stronger beers? Do you know?
I think it actually. I thought it actually increased.
Maybe a little bit. I don't think it'd be.
I don't think
measurable.
it's substantial.
When you think of like how much wood there is compared to
Yeah.
how much volume you're putting in the barrel.
Yeah.
I think it's not a lot. Plus, it would only be the first batch, which of course this is. But
That's true.
yeah, I mean
That's
this
true.
was a big beer to begin with.
I really like this beer. This
Me
is
too.
very
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
This is actually, I think, the favorite batch that I've ever made. Actually,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good.
besides maybe like one IPA.
Now you said it was a 15-gallon
Yeah.
barrel.
Yeah.
What'd you pay for it, if you don't mind my asking?
I think it was like 85 or 90.
That's not bad.
I don't know what Keystone sells them for now. This was about a year ago, I think.
And now there's
picked
quite
that
a
up.
waiting list.
Yeah,
to
there's
get 'em.
they're in
I'm
high
sure there is.
demand
Barrel
nowadays,
aging has become huge. Is
especially
there?
that size.
You know what I was thinking back to when we recorded with Natalie from Weyerbacher?
Yes.
Insanity and Blithering Idiot are actually the same beer,
Right.
but Blithering Idiot is in the barrels, and it does have a higher
right.
ABV. And I
Yeah.
believe that Heresy and, is it Old Heathen? It's the same kind of thing.
Old Heathen is the original. Heresy is the barrel aged, I believe.
Yeah, and I do believe the ABV is a little bit higher.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think because and it has to do, I think, a lot with the length that you age it.
Oh,
because,
that could be too.
Because if
yeah.
the bourbon's been sitting in the barrel long enough, I mean, that really soaks into the wood. And if the beer sits there for a while, especially like you said, the first batch, it's going to pull a lot of that out.
Well, it could even conceivably the yeast could keep working a little bit too while it's in the barrel, and
That's true
maybe
too. That's
dry it
true
out
too.
a little bit more.
Yeah, that's true.
and as it's aging, I could be wrong about this. Does water evaporate faster than alcohol? So
no,
if
I
it's
think
or is it the
alcohol
opposite?
evaporates faster.
So I guess that one. I'm trying to
that
be
wouldn't-
scientific, and I'm not
It's
being
just
very.
not working. I was
Oh, yeah.
wondering when you buy these barrels for barrel aging beers, is there like a shelf life, like from the time that the bourbon leaves the barrel till that you age the beer? Is like after a while, is it going to sort of sour, as it were?
I don't think it'll sour if it had bourbon in it before or whiskey, because it's
I
high
imagine
alcohol.
because of the
Until
alcohol
the
content.
after maybe like a year, the alcohol might evaporate.
And
But
then
I
you've
think the
got
bigger
old wood, and
the
that's
bigger
about it.
concern is that the wood dries out and actually shrinks, and then it's no longer watertight.
Right. Okay.
Because it
Or
depends
beer
on
tight.
Or beer
well,
tight.
beer tight.
And,
It's
you
no longer
definitely don't
beer
want to
tight.
be in your basement
think-
filling a barrel that is leaking.
Yeah, we
Oh, sounds like
had it
there's a
sitting-
story there.
No.
Oh, okay.
It was a concern. It was a concern when we.
Yeah.
When we did it.
it was sitting for a few weeks, I think, before we put anything in it, and it wasn't an issue at all.
Okay, I have to retract my previous statement. I just looked up Insanity and Blithering Idiot, and they're both listed as 11.1.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
fact checking proves me wrong again.
Apparently.
So maybe that's another myth, just like the Plymouth Rock and
That's right.
Does
Pilgrims.
Weyerbacher do a barrel aged of their quad? It would make sense, but I think they do. That might be Heresy actually.
Is
The quad.
the
'Cause I
Is
remember
that
buying a
Blasphemy?
couple- Oh, Blasphemy! Yeah, that's the one. I did kind of rip off the Weyerbacher quad label for this bottle.
Oh, that's okay.
The layout.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Blasphemy comes in at 11.8%.
Okay.
So let's see what
Survey says.
survey says. Oh, that just says both 11.8. So I think we
Wow. Okay.
You know,
we defuncted our own theory.
I recall a very early episode of Beer Busters where we talked about barrel aged beers, and I thought that we had said that it actually imparts a higher ABV, but I guess we were wrong then, and we were wrong now.
Hold on, let me look.
If we were wrong both times, then
Do you
Fool me
remember-
once, shame
Yeah.
on you.
Do you remember what episode that was?
I don't know, like 3 or 4. I mean, it's a while ago.
So I'm going to go with, I really don't think it affects the ABV. However, I know I have read places that it could up to 3%. I know some people have talked about evaporation and topping off the barrel with the original beer. But who knows? I guess we'll have to do some of our own lab work and find out.
That sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I guess it is really just the higher end beers that people tend to barrel age. So I guess it would be interesting to take an actually sessionable beer, Dan, around the 5-6 range and barrel age
12.
that, and wonder what kind of a flavor you'd come up with there. Or do you think barrel aging really only complements a beer that's already up there? I don't know.
Well, now a lot of breweries, the tequila barrels are something new. I've yet to have a beer aged in a tequila barrel that I really...
No,
I love tequila. I love tequila.
like tequila.
Margaritas were the first thing I started drinking when I turned 21 before I started drinking beer. But, and I've only had, I think I've had like 2 or 3, but I haven't loved them yet. But maybe it's just not the right style of beer.
I do really like wine barrel aged, particularly red wine barrel aged. What's the
Red
Victory?
Thunder.
Red Thunder.
That's
Yeah.
delicious.
Phenomenal.
That was
beer.
episode 1, right?
Was it?
We did Red
I wasn't
Thunder,
on. I
White
wasn't on that
Monkey.
episode.
We did 3 barrel-aged Victory beers in episode
Was
1.
it really epic? Wow.
Yeah.
I had that like 2 months ago and thought that was the first time.
That good, huh?
Thanks a lot, Dan.
That's funny. I wasn't
So
even
he's
on
really
that episode,
retaining
and I knew
this
that you tasted that on that episode. I still have not had White Monkey, but I'm not a fan of white wine.
Apparently, White Monkey is coming back or has come back.
Willenhofen.
Yeah, but that's the Golden Monkey aged in white wine barrels,
Yeah.
and
Fact check.
it's nice. It's nice and smooth and creamy, and it's
I
nice.
imagine just because I'm not a fan of white wine doesn't mean I wouldn't like a beer aged in a white wine barrel. It could still be.
It was really good. It
Yeah.
kept up the Golden Monkey flavor, but then added the wine
Oh yeah.
flavor.
What are
Flavored
the
better,
ABVs of those sit at?
Let's find out.
Give you more things to look up on the internet.
Shouldn't it be on beerbusterspodcast.com?
Well, I just sit here and
Wasn't our goal to make this episode so that Dan did not have to do a lot of editing?
yeah, that didn't happen.
Screw both of you.
At least the editing is quite apparent this time.
Or like the email you sent us as a reminder was F you guys.
That's not what I wrote.
No, she wrote both of you.
So White Monkey sits at 9.5 according to the interwebs.
Oh, Golden Monkey also comes in at 9.5. There you go.
So
See,
no change there.
No change at all.
If I do a quick back of the envelope calculations, those are the same number.
You might want to check that again.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to carry the 2.
Yeah. What are the favorites? I feel
Quad.
like we should ask that.
Quad. By far.
Yeah, the Lambics are very good. The cranberries, I like both of them. I liked comparing them, and I liked mixing them. That was a lot of fun.
To me,
It
I
was
like
really
the
interesting.
mix the best, to be honest, because
the
the
mix
tart
was nice.
wasn't. I don't want to say it was overpowering in 2012 overall, but it was slightly more subtle, to the point that the aftertaste kind of, I guess, disappeared a little quicker, which made me want more.
The fact that of the 4 bottles, including the Samurai on the table, the Quad was the first one empty and the last one we opened.
That's true. Yeah.
I think
speaks
that's a
volumes.
clear sign of
Yeah.
what the table favorite
And
was.
I think especially, and this, I don't want to sound like saying that, but for a homebrew, it's a very very well crafted.
I know what you mean.
That's true. Sometimes you get the, it tastes like a homebrew, but
right,
this
and
does
that does
not.
not.
none
I
of
mean,
these taste like a
you
homebrew.
could
If you're
serve
going to
that
use
to
that
me
phrase.
and tell me it was a commercial beer, and I'd believe it. Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely
Thank
agree.
Thank you.
Well,
Do you guys have a favorite?
Oh, the quad.
Yeah, the quad.
Yeah,
I
I'm
knew
gonna go with the
that
quad too.
coming in.
Well, you were the one that suggested bringing the Quad, weren't you, Veronica?
Yeah, when he said that we still had some, I was like, well, let's
Yeah,
do
we-
the quad.
We didn't have a lot else to bring actually. So
Now, I have
we've
to say,
been slacking a little bit on the brewing.
before we wrap up, I do want to mention on air that I kind of had the reputation about being the girl that made the pepper beers for a long time as I've been homebrewing. But I learned that when I started going to the Berks Homebrew Club that I was not the person that had that reputation, because you guys brewed a very memorable spicy beer as well. I was told, it may have been Colin, the first time I came and I talked about my jalapeno saison. They're like, you need to go talk to the Littlefieds about pepper beers.
Well, when we started brewing, we were very inexperienced, didn't know much about beer. So we kind of just dove right in and dumped whatever we felt was tasty into a brew. And we had a recipe for a pepper beer, but we couldn't find the peppers called for in the recipe. And we're also not big pepper consumers, so we went to the store and found some other dried peppers, which happened to be chili peppers. And we used the same amount of chili peppers as the recipe called for the It was some kind
It
of
was like Szechuan peppers.
yes, which we didn't know what they were, so we just dumped it in. And we're like, okay, well, we'll try it. It says to try it in a day or two to see. And well, we got distracted. I think I smelled it after a day, and I was like, oh, I think we need to get this off these peppers. And it was still another 2 days till we actually got it off the peppers. we tried and we're like, oh, this is pretty spicy. So we took it to the homebrew club because we were new to the homebrew club, and we're like, okay, well, here's a spicy beer.
Like they'll probably remember this one.
It's really spicy. We
Try
we
this
did
last,
save it
'cause
to the
it'll
very end.
destroy
we
your
didn't pass it
palate.
out
Yeah.
in the beginning. We waited
Not only
till
will
the
you
end.
not taste anything for the rest of the
And,
night, you won't taste anything for the rest of the
and
week.
most of the comments were, yeah, this is really spicy. So we actually were able to give away or use all of it. It was used in cooking. I made a barbecue sauce
That sounds good.
and pork chops with it. So it was it was great for cooking.
It was.
There were people who really like spicy foods. They drank that. Even we have a friend who doesn't drink beer or only drinks Mike's Hard. If you, I mean, it comes in a bottle with a cap, but she drinks that, and she really likes spicy foods, and she drank that beer, and we were happy to have her drink it.
We're doing a bottle share, the Burke's Beer Traders on Facebook at Mary Six Pack and More on March 1st. Which I guess will have been a few weeks ago, but they're using my habanero Rausch beer to in the wing flavor that they'll be making one of the wing flavors for that event. Which I guess Rich will have to be the taster and let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I'll let you know how it works.
But yeah, the spicy beers do go really well when you're making foods.
Oh man, I'm hungry now.
Good time to wrap up, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. Wow. So quad's the favorite of the table, correct?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Hands down.
Yeah. Cool. Well, as always, let's not forget that any information you may need from us will be at beerbusterspodcast.com.
And don't forget to check out the Berks County Homebrewers.
Yes, Berks County Homebrew. Berks County Homebrew Club. See, Wayne, this is why you can't flub on the microphone.
Hey, whatever. I
All
don't,
right, good. As long as you're a good sport about it.
Okay.
But yes, check out the Berks County Homebrew Club. Is there a Facebook page for that? I have not. Or
Yes, there is. Berks Homebrew.
Yep. And they have a
Simple
website,
which is
homebrew.com.
all the links
think
that
it's
you will need will
.org.
be on
Org,
beer.
yeah.
.org.
BerksHomebrew.org.
Will be on beerbusterspodcast.com. Now, this unfortunately does bring us to the end of another episode of Beerbusters Podcast. And it was the ancient Egyptians who said, the mouth of a perfectly happy man is filled with beer. I would like to agree with that. As always, my friends, I am your host, Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and our from entertainer.
Way bigger.
And we would also like to thank
Peter Littlefield.
and
Veronica Littlefield.
thank you so much for coming out and bringing these amazing beers with you today. Until next time, my friends, we bid you adieu.
Summa bye.
That was not a fade, but all right.